Good evening and welcome to another fascinating episode of the Chocolate Box Presents. I'm your host, Chocolate Drop. Yeah, you know the drill. As usual, you're in for a fascinating program. Today we're going to talk about boys to men. Not the singing group Boys to Men, but we're going to talk with some men who are trying to make sure that young boys are properly matriculated, educated, I can't find the right word, but from boys to men, that's what we're talking about. I'm delighted to have on my program tonight, to my left, we have Mr. Derrick Hines. Welcome to the program.
What's up?
And to his left, we have Mr. Henry Rock. Welcome to the program.
Hey, how are you?
Now, I'm involved with these gentlemen because we're in some men's group here in Charlotte, and I think everybody needs to be involved with men's group because men can get together and talk about things other than just sports and, what's the other thing men like to talk about? Okay, yeah, that too.
Right.
But we're trying to, again, so without further ado, let's get into this. You came with a book, first of all. Let's just start there. Why did you want to surprise me with that book?
Well, this book was written by Haki
Mahabouti.
Yes, and it's called Black Men Obsolete, Single, and Dangerous, an African-American Family in Transition.
Published by Third World Press. Just to get
Third World Press, and this is this book actually goes back to 1990. One of the things I wanted to read here, if you don't mind me reading just a
we're trying to help our viewing audience.
Yes. Well, this is a piece that I feel is germane to the conversation. And it says here that many black men and boys, 12 years and older, now realize that they are indeed marginal to this economy. Now, by the way, this was written in 1990.
Oh, 30 years ago.
Yeah, so
yeah,
I mean,
33 years ago.
I mean, you can just fast forward that to today. And that as technology advances and job requirements become more technical, their chances of good employment are just about negligible. Black young men are quickly becoming an illiterate, nonverbal, directionless, unattached, non-responsive, uncreative, jobless problem. Those of you who don't believe this and wish to continue to color code our situation, come walk with me. White on black crime has taken a disastrous toll on the warriors of our people, and it has not always been that way. In the tradition of our people, the men were intimately involved in the raising of children, especially the male children. The African way was one where fathers passed their skills on to their sons. The arts of food gathering, medicine, military science, and other skills were not the skills that the sons of nations acquired accidentally. This is from Kenyatta back in 1938. So that would be
Jomo Kenyatta?
Jomo Kenyatta.
Okay.
Right? The young men were not only taught to be the providers and protectors of their families and nations, they were instructed in the art of healthy lovemaking. Knowledgeable sexual development was not relegated to the cult of the misinformed. Therefore, the elder men, right, whether they were biological fathers or not, played key roles in the development of young African males into warriors, husbands, fathers, statesmen, artisans, leaders, etc. This carefully structured guide into black malehood does not exist in the United States today at a mass level, and young black male development is left to black women, peer association, white men, or chance.
Okay. Now, I did not know that was going to be our opening, but it was so on point for what we want to talk about.
Yes.
Because you're talking about elders stepping up, right?
Yes.
Right. And this is over 30 years ago. So I wanted to kind of bag up and find how we came in contact with each other.
Yes.
I'm going to give you an opportunity to kind of weigh in on how we came in contact with each other as men's groups.
Yeah, it was definitely men's groups. I got introduced into men's groups via an organization called the Joshua Project. One of my best friends, Charles Thomas, his son, eldest son, went through and got my son excited about doing a rites of passage, basically. And through going with my son and then getting involved with the organization behind the scenes is when I started meeting a lot of the other men that are in Charles's men's group. And that is how the question was kind of raised, how can we get more of us involved?
To kind of do what he's talking about in the book.
Exactly.
Over 30 years ago. So you haven't been involved with this organization for 30 years, I take it.
No.
You don't look like you're 30 anyway. Okay.
Well past that.
Okay. And how did you get involved with, what attracted you to a men's group in your past?
Well, actually, I only had one other instance where I was involved with a quote-unquote men's group. It was in New York City, and we were doing some of the same sort of kind of mentoring of young black men and so forth, right? And but then Charles, again,
Yes.
friend, a mutual friend, asked me whether or not I want to be a part of this group of melanated men, as we
Okay.
call it, right? Who were affiliated with the Joshua Project, and I said absolutely, and the rest is, as they say, history.
Yeah.
Right?
And so in the
Or our story.
our story, right? Yeah. In the 1990s, they had the group called Boys to Men, and so this kind of ties in with ushering, helping young boys become men.
Right.
So what are some of the things that you've seen out in the quote unquote world that spoke to the need that we got to step up and do more? This is over 30 years ago, and we still having issues. What are some of the things that you can kind of point to that talks about that?
I mean, for me, it was just going out into the world and being one of two or three of us in the room.
Not seeing
every
enough.
room,
Okay.
every single room I was in. And it's like, I know personally, if I'm interested in this stuff, I'm not the only one. And I knew I wasn't the only one. I got family members who were into the same types of music, the same types of books, the same type of movies, the same types of philosophical discussions. So why am I only, the only one I keep seeing in the room, one of two or three, and it's the same two or three every single time? That's just being in conversation with younger black people and noticing the lack of diversity in the things that we're interested in, and understanding that a lot of it is just exposure.
Okay. Brother Rock?
Yeah. So, when I came down here to Charlotte, I came with a business in tow called City Startup Labs. Our original focus was on working with young black men, black male millennials in particular, and getting them into the game of entrepreneurship, right? Because rather than be on the sidelines, I wanted them a prior session that you had was about games.
Right.
Games in which folks are active. And so we wanted them to be active in the game of entrepreneurship. But also, a few years ago, I got involved with
Big Brothers,
Big Brothers, Big Sisters, right? And one of the executive director of the organization here in Charlotte asked several brothers to be involved with it, because what she was seeing was that most of the bigs, as they're called, right, the mentors, are white males, right, and the vast majority of the littles, they're called, are not, right. And so I decided to step up, and that was, I don't have any children myself, so this was an opportunity for me to directly have some input on a young man at that time was 11 years old. He's 14 now, and it was that sort of commitment on both counts that brought me to this work with through the Joshua Project.
Yeah, to veggie-back, not piggyback, to veggie-back on that, my fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha, in 2006, they had an initiative where they were trying to get more and more fraternity brothers to participate in Big Brothers and Big Sisters, which I did. I'm no longer in contact with my little, but it was just a phenomenal experience to know how much of an impact one could have on one person's life.
Right.
I want to touch upon a couple of things. You mentioned the previous program where we were talking about Afrofuturism, and I understand that that's right down your aisle with something that's coming up as we're taping this program in July. But I did want to talk about Afrofuturism.
Yeah, I would love to talk about Afrofuturism, but however, the festival, unfortunately, we had to cancel that for a host of reasons, some of which are out of our control. Okay. It would have been our third annual, so we'll save that for another
discussion.
Another discussion. Okay. But thank you for the opportunity to talk about it, though. But I'd love to talk about the concept of Afrofuturism at another time.
Yeah. All right, so let's get back to men's group and men's work. This is kind of a heavy part because we had a mutual member of our men's group, Brother Willie Royal, who transitioned. But because this group was there for him, and had it not been there for him, who knows? So talk about what we get from men getting together, particularly black men getting together to talk about things that are impacting our lives?
I think the number one thing is community. And I think the Western culture has really significantly diminished the importance of community. And it's not just the fact that there are other people who look like you. It's the isolation that you can feel as a black man of any age in any country, but specifically this country, the isolation you can feel, just whether it's mental health issues, whether it's just dealing with family, it doesn't matter. Knowing that there are other people who not only look like you, that are going through the exact same thing, it gives you that comfort in knowing, A, I'm not alone, B, I'm not crazy, and C, a lot of this stuff is natural. And it's unnatural for us to see it in a natural way because we have not been seen as human beings in this country for very long, if at all. So having the men's group, not only does it gives you a place to vent, which is another important thing, because the brother that was on your earlier program was talking about having a place, a creative outlet to go through things. Just having an outlet at all is extremely important.
Being heard, having a
Being
voice.
heard, being seen,
Being seen, yes.
the opportunity to see other men. And then there's the phenomenon which I don't think any of us has experience of the so-called lack of parental figures in black men's lives.
Okay.
That could also, I don't know, because my dad was there the whole time.
Okay.
That could also impact a brother in men's group. I don't know. I could go on and on about the importance and the benefits.
And so with the group that we're involved in, we get a chance to do things that are, like I won't say camping, but how important do you feel that is to a young person, perhaps we use the term inner city. I have issues with that phrase, but how important do you feel that is for take a young person and get them out where they're communing with nature, be it hiking, be it camping, just talk about that.
Yeah. I think
Different environment.
Yeah, and any time that you can connect with nature, have an opportunity to understand that you're part of something that's bigger than yourself, bigger than your surroundings, right? That there's a whole world out there, right? And that you're an integral part of that, and then have an opportunity to just relax, to look around you and see your surroundings, and not in an unthreatened kind of fashion, right? I think that's amazing, right? There's one thing that I did want to mention though, and that is about I think the importance of men's groups in general is vitally important now for this planet, right? We're experiencing a planet that is, as we all can see, is
With the weather, the global warming.
right. I mean, it's a planet on fire,
Yeah.
right? Principally, it's been men that have been the ones that have been the problem,
And white men.
I'll just say men in general, right? Okay. Because if we can go to the continent and look and see how men are jacking up their environment there, right? And that's a whole nother conversation we can get into about why that is. But I think that the perpetrators of what we see in terms of the dynamics that's going on in this planet is primarily been men.
Yes.
And women have been left to clean up the mess, right? In a lot of respects.
Very
right?
well said.
They've been left to deal with the children. They've been left to deal with all the fallout and what have you. And I think it's time for men to really kind of get present to who they are, the responsibility that they have, and also the kind of deep healing that's required. Because a lot of what we're experiencing is our own inability to come to terms with some of our own pain and to be able to address that in a way where there's a safe space to do that.
Non-judgmental.
Non-judgmental, is absolutely. So I think the men as in general need to heal themselves so that we can heal the planet. So I think that's important. I think men's groups can can hopefully help foster that kind of thing.
To put a finer point on it, the reason why I mentioned, I said white men, is that when you look at the pictures of the G6 or the G8, whoever it is, you seldom see black people represented in that. And for those people who have the will and the power to make a difference, are the ones that can address, the houselessness, the economic gap, global warming. So, but that's that. You were going to add something to that.
Yeah, well, I was going to go back to your earlier question about the importance of having the young people out in nature.
Yes.
One of the things is we as people are a spiritual people, and where are we most connected to spirit is out in nature, and we have been like nature has been desecrated for us. We're separated from it completely. So getting back to that is getting back to who we actually are as a people to begin with. And having the kids unplug, not to say
no
we
cell
want to,
phone,
no cell
access to
phone,
television,
nothing. Television. The only music you hear is the music that comes from nature and the drums that we bring with us, which is also very important, because how do we communicate with spirit? We as a people communicate with spirit through music and dance. It's not just a trivial thing, but in order to get back to what that actually means to our core, we've got to be out in nature to do it.
Now, M3 evolved out of a larger organization. You touched upon it, the Joshua Project, and there may some, well, is that not reverse segregation of some sort? And you kind of touched upon this, but speak to the need why, yes, we can be apart, but yet we can be together, but we can also be apart. Speak to that a little bit. And there's no shade on being part of the big group.
As succinctly as I can, I will say, historically, we as people in this country have continually had feet on our necks and eyes bored into our backs. In order for us to heal, we need to find out who we are minus the white gaze. And in order for us to do that safely, as Brother Henry was saying, we've got to have a safe space to get in the dirt, to get through the dirt. And that ain't always pretty. And we as black men in this country have had a need to look good doing whatever it is we're doing. And we got to be ready to get ugly. And the only way to do that is for us to be able to do it minus the white gaze.
Okay. Yeah, and I think this idea of rites of passage, of ritual that's associated with growing into or entering into manhood, right? Because of the folks young folk we deal with are 13 plus. They are at that point where manhood is right there on the horizon for them.
And they're questioning a lot of things.
Yeah. And so there's a need also for a counterpoint to what they are experiencing on a regular basis, right? I mean, we're offering just a respite, but they're, the other times that they're dealing with the world as they see it, there's very little opportunity for them to have a counterpoint. And we're providing that counterpoint, small as it is. But I think it's absolutely necessary because the forces that be are bearing down on our young men in a way that we need to find methods to counteract that.
Yeah, you opened up with the passage from Hakeem Madabuti's book, Black Men, and I meant to interject this in our conversation. Brother Willie, he talked about we're born with a target on our back, being black men, and there's a phrase from the womb to the tomb or from the cradle to the grave. So at what point do we kind of recognize where we are and what to do about it? You were going to...
Yeah, I was just going to say, and all of this is not to say that we need more separation. It's just we need the separation because that's where we need to go. Like when an animal is wounded, it does not hang with the pack. It separates itself to heal its wounds. And it is the same in society. We need everyone to go their own separate ways in order to heal the wounds, in order for the pack to be stronger.
Okay, and then maybe come back together.
Yeah,
sure.
Totally.
But if we're not strong in our own right, then we're going to be a weak link in the chain, And I think that again, as I was saying before, the planet is in crisis, right? And so we need to bring the best of ourselves, irrespective of how we got here. We need to bring the best of ourselves to address what's going on. And if we can't do that amongst ourselves, within our families, within our communities, and so forth, then we're not going to bring the best of ourselves to the crisis at hand.
And we have something to offer, the fact that we are still here,
Absolutely.
and we want to share it.
Yeah.
So how do we get more men like Henry Rock and Derrick Hines to become involved with what we're doing here? How do we find them? Where are they?
Well, this is one way of doing it.
This is one, right? Yeah.
Totally.
You go to the barbershop, you go to the church, you go to, where would we find more men to say, yeah, I want to do what you all doing?
Well, I mean, you mentioned the fraternities. I mean, that's a route. Oftentimes fraternities like to, rub
Oh, he's smiling. He's smiling.
Yeah. Oftentimes fraternities like to, have a good time. But it's not just, we're having a good time when we do what we do, but I also think that it's important for folks to step up, and live into this kind of work. I think sororities do it a lot better in many cases than fraternities do. So it's incumbent upon the brothers to step up. Yeah, that's
AKAs,
one way. That's one route.
Appreciate you sharing that. Yeah. AKA just opened up the credit union in Chicago, so that's something. As we wrap up, you smiling. Tell a little bit about what are you all doing as we come to the conclusion of our program. Now, I know you're a musician, right?
Yeah, musician, producer. Yeah, recovering rapper, poet.
Okay. And you're with this awesome organization called
City Startup Labs,
right?
You can find us at citystartuplabs.com. We've shifted gears from working with young black men to working with folks that have been justice involved.
Okay.
So much of our focus now is getting folks that have been formerly incarcerated into their own businesses or into family-sustaining work.
Okay. And if I'm not mistaken, at some point you did a TED Talk, right? Back in the day?
Oh, back in the day, yes. I did.
Yeah. What was the subject matter dealing with?
Just talking about these young brothers getting them into the game of entrepreneurship. Okay. Yeah. So you can check it out, Henry Rock at TED.
Henry Rock at TED. Listen, well, gentlemen, brothers, I want to thank you all for taking time out of your obviously busy schedule to appear on this episode of the Chocolate Box Presents. As you all may know, we like to generally end our program by offering our guests an opportunity to participate in a little ritual we call the eating of the chocolate. But you say, why is he mentioning this since he doesn't have any chocolates today? So come back next time, we'll get you some chocolate. How about that?
All right.
My name is Chocolate Drop, encouraging you, the viewer, to tune in each week, same day, same time, for another fascinating episode of the Chocolate Box Presents. We'll see you next week. And also check us out on YouTube. Just Google it, Chocolate Drop TV on YouTube. And like and subscribe and share and do all the other good stuff. All right, we'll see you next week. We're out. I wanted to talk about Pokemon a little bit. I also want to talk about violence in video games.
Sure.
But I'm trying to weave that in with, you've got one that's talking about killing, capturing, but yet when you see about mass school shootings and all this stuff, make that all make sense to me. Connect that.
So how I see it, the social construct that we have is people not having an outlet or an expression, right? And so they internalize it and they let it out in a negative way. So what role-playing games allow you to do is to take whatever inner angst or frustration you're having and release it in a safe way, in a constructive way, right? So when we eliminate art, when we eliminate
music in the schools,
we eliminate creative outlets and positive outlets for those energies. If we only concentrate on putting a ball in a hoop or throwing a ball down a field.
You're not knocking that either, but still. Yeah.
But if that's all you have, there's people who don't have those abilities. Yeah. Not everybody's going to be Spud Webb,
Yes.
So how do you allow those other people who aren't in that percentile to be able to express themselves and have it come out in a positive way instead of having it come out in a negative way?
Hey, motherfuckers, whenever I'm in Charlotte, I'm getting jiggy with the chocolate box.
Yes.
Get jiggy with it. Special on earth. Yes.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your boy Charlie Clips from Wildin' Out. You know I'm from Harlem, but whenever I'm in Charlotte, I'm dealing with the chocolate box with my boy, my man, my OG, the chocolate drop. You know what it is, man. Charlotte, much love, man. One of the greats doing it. Appreciate him. Love, man.
Check us out.